everyone, welcome to the MrpTech Podcast. This is episode 113. My name is Matt, and this is the weekly podcast discussing everyday tech for everyday people. And in this week's episode, what I'd like to talk about is one of the things that I threw out sort of at random in last week's episode at the end of the show. I was talking about my Ed Tech Center at school, and I was talking about the new Raspberry Pis that we have. And I said, I just threw out a question. If we have a Raspberry Pi, but no peripherals, what are some great things for students to get interested in Pis besides programming? And well, it didn't take very long for the Discord chat room for the MrpTech Podcast to come through with a good answer. And just want to toss out one of the comments here from Morton in the Discord room. He says, how about showing the students something as plain as Kodi on the Pi, just to give an impression that the board is A, a computer, and B, an appliance. If one of the students set it up and you hook it up to serious speakers and a projector, it is a great feeling that the board they were playing with before is now putting out some serious professional entertainment system. Well, that's something that had actually crossed my mind. I didn't really know which way I was going to go, but thanks, Morton, for putting that in the podcast because you sort of motivated me to do this. So this week, what I'd like to talk about is a couple of different things. I'd like to talk about something called LibreElec and also the Kodi project. And I'm sure most of you out there are familiar with Kodi and LibreElec, but if I have students listening or anyone else that may be interested in a media center at home on a very low budget, then I've got some great ideas for you. Okay, so first of all, we have a Raspberry Pi Model B that we purchased in one of the Kanakit packages on Amazon. I think it came with a 32 gig SD card, came with a power adapter, it came with a little USB stick for downloading and flashing the SD card. And it also came with a case as well. And it was relatively inexpensive. I'm not sure exactly how much it cost on Amazon. But the Raspberry Pis are as cheap as $35. If you buy it in the kit, you're probably looking more at $60 or $70, depending on the size of the SD card. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to put together a media center for our Ed Tech Center. And the number one thing that came to mind was Kodi. Now, if you're not familiar with Kodi, Kodi used to be called the Xbox Media Center. It was the media center that was available on the original Xbox. It was then open sourced and became a project called XBMC. It was around for quite a few years and later changed its name to Kodi to avoid confusion. And it's been a couple of years since I have checked out Kodi, I'll be honest. And in the past, when I have looked at it, I had Kodi installed on my laptop, and I really just didn't have a need for a media center on my laptop. I play my music usually on a mobile device, and very rarely am I sitting in one spot where I'm going to need a media center on my laptop. So Kodi has sort of escaped me for the last couple of years. Basically, Kodi is an all-in-one entertainment package. It will play anything from your music to movies to TV shows, and it is basically an all-around entertainment hub that can be installed on Linux. It can be installed on OS X. It can be installed on Windows, iOS, Android. It is cross-platform and can be used on your built-in screen. It can be used on TVs. It can be used on projectors. It can be used on just about anything. Not only that, it also allows you to play things like podcasts, digital media files that are run locally and on network-attached storage. The list just goes on and on of the things that Kodi can do. Now, in the past, when I used Kodi, it never really seemed to, and this was years ago, never really seemed to work right on the hardware that I had. And I wasn't sure if it was just the computers that I was using, the laptops I was using at the time, but it was very slow. If I was using a cursor like on a mouse, it was very slow. always just had issues. And over the years, I did see improvements and saw slow, steady progress. Then, like I said, I got away from it for a little while. And after last week's episode, I started remembering that when I first started messing around with the Raspberry Pi, there was a project called LibreElec, which basically took Kodi and gave it enough of an OS behind it so that Kodi could run by itself on a Raspberry Pi, taking a very cheap one single board computer and turning it into something similar to like an Apple TV device. And so I remember LibreElec, and I did not, and I was not aware that there was a fork in the LibreElec project, and now something called LibreElec. So LibreElec is a lightweight Linux distribution that's purpose and only purpose is to run Kodi on popular hardware. Currently, the most popular hardware for LibreElec is Raspberry Pi and the Odroid. And just taking a really quick look at their website, it looks like LibreElec is run by a board of elected and active team members. They set the goals and priorities and then hand it off to the rest of their team to continue to build and to make improvements on the project itself. One of their goals is to be open and active in the community, always making sure that the community is aware of changes being made when the next release is being made. And they just want to create something that is stable, but also has new and steady improvements with every release. Another thing that I found that was really interesting is they intend to be nonprofit in nature, but at the same time, if you were to become a sponsor or donate to the project, they guarantee that 100% of your funds are used for the project. Okay, so let's talk about installing LibreElec. Now, what I did is the first time that I tried to do this, which was on our school's Raspberry Pi, I took the noobs download files from the Raspberry Pi website, downloaded that file, and all I had to do was extract it onto the SD card so that all the files were extracted onto the SD card. I believe the SD card needed to be formatted in a FAT32 format. So I did that, extracted it, take the SD card out, plug it in the Raspberry Pi. It boots up Noobs on the Pi itself, and instead of picking Raspbian, which was on it before, then I picked the LibreElec and automatically installed, and with less than a few minutes, we have LibreElec up and running, and basically no configuration needed. Everything up, it boots right into Kodi. So one of the first things that I did with Kodi, I was blown away on how smooth everything ran with Kodi. I never had that experience before, so I was really impressed. And with that, the user interface of Kodi is really quite beautiful. Just the skins that they use for the theming, in my opinion, no need to change to anything else. So I started myself being sort of unfamiliar with the whole project. One of the first things that I did is I created a couple of user accounts. One is a master account with the master passwords, and then I created another account for the students to use. And that way I can sort of monitor everything that's being used, and we can students can't download anything that they shouldn't be downloading, and we can keep it educational in nature. So I did lock it down as far as that goes in our school area, but that doesn't really limit the students. They can come in, they can use it. We've set it for 1080 display. We have a projector screen that is projecting too. Looks just absolutely stunning. So I want to say that my knowledge of Kodi prior to this point was limited. So then I started to sort of experiment, and I kind of have the perspective here that I'd like to share with you because we also, for other reasons, have recently acquired an Apple TV for some of the tech things that we're going to do. Now, they're not in the same location. They're actually in two different locations, but I've been setting up both of them. So I'm pretty familiar with Apple TV. And when I started looking at Kodi on a $35 device, boy, I was just absolutely floored and blown away on the capability that a Raspberry Pi can do with a media center. And so one of the first things that I started thinking of was, okay, Apple TV, you've got the Apple remote. You have an Apple remote app that you can use on your smartphone. Does Kodi have a remote? So I pulled out my phone and I went to the App Store. Sure enough, there is a Kodi remote. And I said, okay, well, how difficult is it going to be to set this up? Well, when I did that, it was very easy. Find Kodi. I hit the Find Kodi button and boom, my remote connected, found the IP address, found the open port, and basically no configuration. And the remote control was up and running. Now, I was expecting more of the Apple mindset where you are basically use your whole phone, just swiping left and right, up and down, that type of thing for, there are no buttons, there are no, there's really nothing other than tapping and swiping. And that wasn't the case with the Kodi remote. There was actually lots of different options, up arrows, down arrows, left, right, a select button, all of your media buttons, music, movies, TV shows, all right there, easy to use. And I actually found it easier to use than an Apple TV remote. It was a little bit more controlled, and I actually really liked that, being able to navigate through all the menus on the left-hand side of the screen. Very easy to move through all the media that we have. So one of the things that I started doing first after that point was I took a look at the add-ons that were available. We didn't have any media attached. We didn't have any movies or TV shows. So I started taking a look at add-ons. And so going through the add-ons, I picked the Kodi repositories and went to some video add-ons. And what I wanted to do was find some tech-centric either shows, podcasts, whatever, for the students to be able to navigate through. So I was really blown away when I was finding things like the entire Twit catalog, This Week in Tech, things like Hack 5 and things like The Verge and all those other types of things. Now I'm sort of drawing a blank on some of the add-ons, but the add-on list was huge. I was able to find a Google Drive add-on and a YouTube add-on. Also added things like the NASA feeds, and one of the most interesting ones that I found was the EarthCam feeds. And you can log in and you can see cameras from different cities overlooking all over different areas throughout the world. So I was really kind of interested in that, all in basically 1080p video. Some are in 4K now, which was really interesting to see. And really this all started coming into play on just like Morton said, not only was this a computer, but this can be used as an appliance as well. Now at home, I've mentioned many times that my Raspberry Pi at home was running Nextcloud. And I did have an extra Raspberry Pi sitting at home that I did not have much of a use for. So I figured, hey, you know what? Let's try this in two places. So I went home and I installed LibreElec on my Raspberry Pi. I believe it's, again, a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, and hooked it up to one of my TVs. When I got it at home, I found that the remote, when I connected to the Pi at home, often caused problems, almost causing Kodi to crash a little bit. I'm not really sure what the problem is with that. I do not have the problem at school, which makes me think it might be a network issue. I'm not exactly sure yet. So I'm going to experiment a little bit more with that. So I was having some issues with the Kodi remote at home, but not in school. And most of the time, things were very, very flawless. So where does this lead me? What do I think about LibreElec? I think this is just I think is just outstanding. It really is it looks professional. It looks like a top quality piece of software. And to me, it looks like something we would purchase in a store and bring home. And it is about as professional looking as you're going to get. In fact, I think I rather like the user interface more than I like the interface on the Apple TV, to be honest. They offer a very basic interface, and for those who are a little bit more advanced, they do offer an advanced interface where you can customize things a little bit more to your liking. So if you've never tried LibreElec, or if you've never had a home media center or TV device for playing media, pick up a Raspberry Pi. They're relatively inexpensive. Installing is super easy. Just about anybody could figure it out. And especially when the Raspberry Pi comes with Noobs already installed on your SD card, you just plug it into the Pi, connect to a network, and LibreElec is going to be right there for you. So for those who aren't in the Apple camp or Apple fanboys, or for those who are looking for a little bit more freedom in what they want to do with their media center, Kodi is a great choice. Now, Kodi has come under flack over the last few years, sort of, in my opinion, for the wrong reasons. A lot of people are cracking down on Kodi because they believe that Kodi is being used to bootleg TV shows and movies and that type of thing. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to stop right there and say Kodi itself does not provide any of that media. Users are the ones that are responsible for putting the content on Kodi and connecting to online sources. So in my opinion, the user is the one that is responsible. You can use Kodi 100% legally. Kodi does not support anything in the bootlegging world. They do not support bootlegging videos, movies, whatever. Just like anywhere else that you go online, you can find just about anything anywhere. And you have to really know copyright laws. You have to kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And if you own the materials, if you are just using it as playing your own content and attaching to legitimate sources that are legal to use, then you're going to be absolutely fine. If you have a subscription to NBC, ABC, CBS, you can use it just fine legally, and there are no issues. But it's when you start going into darker territory and doing things that most people know they shouldn't be doing, that's where the user gets into trouble. So on top of movies and TV shows, you can also manage photos. You can you can play through slideshows of your favorite photos, and you can organize your photos. You can watch live TV if you've got the setup to do that. There are web interfaces that you can use to connect to the web. It really is just great all around. So for those of you looking for a media center, Kodi is one option for you. There are other options available for you as well on a Raspberry Pi. Rasplex is one of them. I believe there's another one called OSMC, which is very similar, does boot into Kodi, and it offers other functionality. There was a Plex app that you could download and add on to LibreElec. I did that. I haven't connected it to my Plex server, but seems like a very easy thing to do there as well. So with that remote, with all of the add-ons, Kodi is a very powerful tool. You can connect peripherals, you can connect hard drives, external hard drives with your media files on it, and just point the player to where all those files are. Super, super easy. I found the keyboard, using a wireless keyboard, was the best option for me, because the keyboard layout, using the escape button and the arrows to navigate through all of the settings, was fairly easy to do. The remote was fun to use, although I did say when I was at home the remote wasn't working quite as well, but the keyboard was working great. And I'm going to keep working on my LibreElec setup at home, and eventually I'm going to connect it to my actual TV and use it for a while and see if the experience is on par with Apple TV or if it's better. We'll see, and I'm not really sure what to expect, so I'll keep you posted with that over the next few weeks. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to this week's show. We're going to call it a day here, and if you have any questions on LibreElec, you can feel free to send me an email, mrptechreviews@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, mrptechreviews.com. And also, you can check out all the shows, all of the episodes of this podcast are over at podnuts.com. Check out all the other great shows on that network. You can find everything on YouTube as well, so feel free to check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to support this show, I'd ask you to go over to podnuts.com and support that network using the donate button and support the network because they host everything for this show. So I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We will see you next time.